The Tennis Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Onyx Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code SGPN to get 50% deposit bonus up to $1K. We're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sportsbook available in 45 states. Download Rebet in the App Store. Use the promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get a send every child today by going to sportsbook.com/RATHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It's currently late Friday night, roughly 11:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Your host, always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to get into the two semifinal matches taking place on Saturday in the Next Gen Final in Jeddah. So we're going to preview the matchups between TN and Mickelson, as well as the matchup between Fonseca and Van Asch. So we're going to break down those two matches in a second. Forward to that, though, I do want to quickly recap what happened in the last episode for the lock and dog picks. Overall, decent episode. Ended up winning the lock with Basaveretti. We had him plus the 4.5 games against Mickelson at minus 124. Got there easily. He actually won the first set, then lost eventually in 4, but he covered. Really never in doubt. Nice win there. For the dog, though, picked up a loss. We had fees to win against Fonseca with both players to win a set. The match went to 5 sets, but unfortunately, fees kind of ran out of gas there in the 5th as he lost in 5. So had a shot there. Didn't get there, though, as Fees ended up losing the group stage, actually, as he got eliminated. But either way, point is Fees had a shot there to get the job done, didn't do so, and he lost at the brink. So it is what it is, but either way, we ended up splitting. Look for a sweep here for the Saturday matches. Now, before we get into the recap of the group stage, I want to remind you once again that you can show support for the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube, and a reminder, you can also leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. Also a reminder, check out the merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great Tennis Gambling Podcast merch with sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. All high quality, all affordable. Recommend getting yourself something. Also, different shows with the network. Obviously, the NBA show, have the MLB show, have the college experience, of course, which is now really just focused on, I'd say, college basketball every night, as well as the college football playoff, even though the first game between Notre Dame and Indiana was pretty horrible. But either way, point is, if you want some college thoughts, check out the college experience, but check out the merch store for a lot of great options. Plus, a reminder, we also have a great promo going on right now because SGPN's first annual college football playoff challenge. Pick sides and totals in every game for a chance to win the $1,000 grand prize. Free to enter. Go to sportsgambling.com/CFP. sportsgambling.com/CFP. Anyway, time to get into the brief recap of the group stage for the actual standings. Overall, the outrights that we actually had for the episode, not good. I'll put it that way. A lot of the guys we backed ended up not really doing anything. In fact, I believe everyone we did like in general ended up losing and got eliminated pretty early on. Now, Shane got injured again. What else is new? Gets hurt all the time. Really a shame because he's got a lot of talent, but it does feel like he just can't stay healthy. It's really that simple. And Shane was already losing. Then he ended up quitting against Mickelson in the last match, but he was already eliminated at that point anyway. So Shang had a pretty, I'd say, underwhelming run. Mensik went 0-3. Main reason, couldn't win a tiebreak. Had a crazy match against Fonseca, though, in the Friday card, as every set went to a tiebreak, and eventually did lose in the final set breaker. So Mensik went 0-3, mainly because of tiebreaks. Thought he actually played decently, but either way was 0-3. Fees lost the first match, ended up losing the last match as well, as he got eliminated too. Fees, I was right about fading as the favorite. I just don't like actually trusting him at small prices. He tends to show up when you least expect him to, but when he's actually given expectations, he kind of no-shows, and he did. But the overall group stage results for the first group, Fonseca won as he went 3-0. Tien went 2-1 as he advanced as well. Fees and Mensik were eliminated. Now, as for the other group, Mickelson ended up going 3-0. Van Asch ended up going 2-1. Nice job by him. Kind of a surprise for some. I'm not totally shocked because I believe he made it to the semis last year and then lost to Fees as well. Tends to perform well in this environment. I'm not saying he's going to actually make it past the semis again. We'll get into that match in a second. But the point is, Van Asch looked pretty good as he did win 2 out of 3. Did lose to Mickelson, though, in the one match he lost in. Now, for the other ones, you had Basaveretti, who looked pretty good, actually. Gave Mickelson a run for his money. Ended up winning one match. Ended up losing to Van Asch in the decider to see who'd get into the second spot there for the group stage. But Basaveretti, who came out of nowhere to actually make it into the Next Gen Final, thought he played well overall. Think you should be happy with how the season ended. And once again, Shang was really just a disaster in terms of losing and in terms of injury, and hopefully he can get healthy again. Hate seeing him injured, but it's a pretty common theme, and I got it at least, I'd say, pointed out because he's hurt all the time. Anyway, though, should be a pretty fun set of semifinal matches taking place on Saturday. Quickly want to see, though, if there's any other news around the tennis world that I'm forgetting. I don't think I am. I want to just quickly check. I know Brooksby is supposed to be back in January. I know he ended up having a pretty open discussion. Or I forgot if it was actually something that he wrote or if it was an interview talking about the suspension. Now he's dealing with autism. So that was definitely something that I thought was pretty intriguing. I didn't actually dive into it too much, though. The point is Brooksby will be back in January after being suspended for running away from a drug test. Besides that, what else is there to talk about? The ATP is paying $1.3 million in a guaranteed income program. Good for them. Always like seeing the players try to actually sustain more money from their job. So definitely like the ATP shelling out cash, whether it involves the Challenger Tour, which I talked about last episode, and whether it involves the actual guaranteed income program. I think it's cool, though, and I'm glad that they are kind of giving a bit more back to the players. Besides that, Djokovic and Kyrgios are back for Brisbane double, so Kyrgios is trying to make his return. Do I care? Kind of 50-50, to be honest. Like, Kyrgios, if he was actually willing to give full effort, I might be intrigued. Hasn't played in a while. Is he going to look good? Probably not in his first event, but we'll see what happens. Kyrgios, very polarizing figure. He's very talented, though, of course. If he actually looks competent and he actually looks, I'd say, fine physically, I'll be intrigued. I'll watch him play. But I think everyone is kind of tired of his overall, I'd say, antics and his overall personality. But the point is, he's still a very talented player. We'll see how he looks. But now he's best friends with Djokovic, so we'll see how they look there in doubles. That's basically it. Wawrinka was given a wild card into the Aussie Open, which I'm happy for because he's a former champion. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in what could be his last Aussie Open, getting a wild card spot. Anyway, point is, that's going to wrap it up for the actual recap of the group stage and some new stuff. Now it's time to get into the preview of these Saturday matches. Now, before we do that, though, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to Underdog Fantasy because they have a lot of great items on their pick menu. You can win up to 1,000 times your money with Underdog Streaks. Underdog also makes picking easier with, once again, the profit boosts and their pick'ems, which are sometimes given pretty solid discount options, so you can find very good prices. For example, like half a yard or half a point. They have stuff like that all the time for basically free legs in your options. But the point is, keep that in mind. They have the NFL, they have college football for the playoff, they have college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. You can do specials and boost on Airflux entries for the upcoming next few days. What do I actually like for the card here? Let me actually see what's on the NFL docket, because there are a couple games on Saturday. I think for this one, I'm going to go with Mahomes' interception because he's thrown a bunch of them this season, and now he's been injured. Think he might throw a pick. So give me Mahomes higher half a pick in that game against Houston on Saturday. Reminder that when you sign up for your new account, use the promo code SGPN. Click on special pick and first time deposit offer up to 1K in bonus cash on fantasy promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rebet. A reminder that Rebet is a new social sportsbook available in 45 states. They have plenty of betting opportunities in, once again, on the actual platform. You can also use it where traditional sportsbooks may be restricted, so it is an option for you if you live in a state where you cannot actually bet on DraftKings or FanDuel, etc. And a reminder, if you download the app, use the promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scaling Podcast. Just finished recapping what happened in the group stage, round of the event. Now it's time to move on to the semifinal matches. Now, for the actual matchups, you have one pretty decent favorite, and you have one that's somewhat close, but chopping around. He's a bigger favorite on other platforms. So, starting off with the first match at 11 a.m., you have Mickelson taking on Tien in a battle of Americans. And now, for this one, Mickelson is about minus 250. Tien is around plus 210. Both guys were good in the group stage. Mickelson was undefeated in basically two and a half matches because Shane got injured after the first set. Now, Tien has been really good. Really no way around it. I think Tien has been kind of I don't want to say a late bloomer, but I feel like most people didn't really know who he was until he had that monster run in the Challenger circuit last year. And he's only 19 years old, but he definitely came onto the scene. And now he looks like he can be a potential threat to maybe win the whole thing. Now, Mickelson was really bad in this event last year, and he was able to get by the group stage this year while going undefeated. Wasn't fully convincing, though. Beat Van Asch in 4, ended up beating Basavaretti in 4. Common theme, though, did lose the first set in both of those matches. So maybe if you want to go for Tien to win the first set, might be a sneaky good angle. Now, Tien is Once again, 2-1 in the group stage, beat Mensik in a final set breaker. Lost to Fonseca, who ended up double bageling him, actually, in the first 2 sets, then eventually did win in 4. And then he came back and he beat Fies in a 4-set thriller as he won 7-5 in the final set breaker. So Tien has been good. Mikkelsen's been good too, but once again, the common theme here, yes, the Shang match ended early, so I am going to toss it out. The point is, all of these completed matches from each guy have not ended in straight sets. So you have seen, I'd say, a moment of weakness from both guys. So I see a marathon here. I think worst case scenario, you're looking at a straightforward win for Mikkelsen that does not end in straight sets. However, I think the price is way off here. I think 250 is a really big price for Mikkelsen. I think Tien's really good. I think Tien's being slept on. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to officially win the match, but I think it could be a marathon. Like, I don't think Tien's going to be intimidated. Tien was able to beat Fies. He beat Mensik, 2 guys that are pretty, I'd say, solid players on tour. Mikkelsen had, once again, a pretty decent overall quarter, and you're looking at who was in, or I should say his group. He was against Shang, who was injured, so they didn't really play. Played Van Asch, who ended up making to the semis, but Van Asch, we know, is a challenger, I'd say, consistent guy, now really viewed as a threat on the ATP Tour, and beat Basaveretti, who's an up-and-comer who could be good, but he's a bit of a relative unknown. So Mikkelsen had a very, very easy overall group stage, and that is why I did think he had a pretty, I'd say, good path to actually get here, but the price was a bit cheap for the group stage, but still. Point is, I think Mikkelsen is a player who's still solid, not a great server for a guy his size. I'm going to give Tien a fighting chance here. I think the price is way too big. I'll go with the over in this one. I think it's around 24.5 for games, but I do think Tien can keep it interesting. So I'll go with Tien in this one to keep it interesting, plus the games. I think Mikkelsen might win, but I think that Tien's not going to go quietly. Give me a potential war between the 2 Americans here in the first Saturday semifinal matchup. See a question from Uneducated here asking about my thoughts on the UTR circuit. Truth is, I really don't follow it too much. It seems like they do a good job of, I don't want to say poaching ATP players. They do a good job of, I'd say, borrowing ATP players to have some events in the middle of the, I'd say, breaks that they have between tournaments. I don't mind it. I feel like the overall circuit is something I don't pay much attention to because, of course, it's a gambling show, and I don't really see many betting lines on the UTR. I don't mind it. I like what they're doing. They found a nice niche, I'd say, entertainment value market, but I don't follow it too much. I know that they've done a good job of actually getting talent. Shelton's been in there. I think Musetti's been in there. Kyrgios has. I think Rune showed up for one of them. Point is, though, they do get a decent amount of talent there. Fritz has been in there, too. So I like what they're doing with the overall talent, but I don't really follow it too much, to answer your question. Moving on, though, to the next match, you have Van Asch against Fonseca. 2 guys you might be surprised to be here. Fonseca, though, if you watched him last year in Rio when he had that really impressive showing in, I'd say, the early parts of the clay season last year, the talent is undeniable. Like, he has top 10 upside written all over him. The issue's been the serve. He's improved on it. He's kind of also improved on the mental, I'd say, toughness to his game. Very talented. Now, Van Asch has been a solid player here in years past, but he doesn't have much firepower. So it's kind of a battle of styles here. Fonseca wants to hit it, I'd say, past his opponents, and Van Asch wants to keep the ball in play and go brick wall mode. So for this one, I think you're looking at what should be a fun matchup. Fonseca is between minus 160 and minus 190 on the money line, and the over, I should say, Van Asch is around plus 140 on the money line, a bit higher. Other spots, the over-under is around 23.5 or so. Spread is minus 2.5 for Fonseca at even money, and plus 2.5 for Van Asch at around minus 130. So for this matchup, no head-to-head meetings, by the way, in the Mikkelsen and Tien matchup, and no head-to-head history here too. Now, for the overall group stage, both guys look good, but Fonseca did look better as he went undefeated. Now, I think Fonseca's going to win. No offense to Van Asch. Not a great server. I think that could be an issue. Now, the argument's fatigue, because Fonseca had a 5-set marathon, all tiebreaks against Mensik in the Friday slate, and now we're going to see how he looks on Saturday. I think he'll be fine, though. Point is, though, the serve's been good. I believe he only got broken one time in the 5 sets combined. So the serve's been better. I think Van Asch's serve is still weak, and I think Fonseca has the overall firepower to kind of push Van Asch around the court. And I do think with that being the case, I think the price is actually pretty cheap on Fonseca. I think he should be closer to minus 190, minus 210. So I think that some books are a bit short on the overall price. But I think for the sake of the matchup, I think he's going to win. If I had to guess, 4 sets. I think Van Asch can win a set here, but I don't see him really sustaining much pressure throughout the course of the matchup. I think the serve will be too good, and I think that Fonseca's overall firepower will be too much for Van Asch to handle. Give me Fonseca to get the job done. Pretty straightforward short handicap there for the matchup, but give me, once again, the favorite in this matchup to win. I think he should be a bigger favorite, so I think there is some value right now at that current price. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the actual preview of the 2 matchups on Saturday. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. But for that, though, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by MyBookie, because MyBookie has been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website, great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. And a reminder, you also have new early cash out options. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. A reminder that SGPN's prep partner Rhythm is the number 1 A-powered sportsman platform that provides bettors all of the ability to build custom models in seconds, get predictions on, once again, money lines, spreads, totals, and props, build your own model, copy one from the leaderboard, or you could also have Rhythm build one for you. Track apps on the Rhythm app. You could use NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA props as well. Rhythm does have it all. And a reminder, for the actual deal that we're having, you have a 7-day free trial by going to sportsgaming.com/rhythm, sportsgaming.com/RATHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gun Podcast. Just finished quickly previewing the 2 matchups in the semis for Saturday. Now it's time for the lock and dog pick. For the lock, I do like Fonseca, but I am going to save him with a combo play for the dog. So for the lock, I am going to go with the first matchup between Mickelson and Tien. For this one, I'm actually going to go with the dog here, team total over. Give me Tien, team total over 11.5 games at -125. I think Mickelson is a bit too big of a favorite. I think that Tien can hang in there. First of all, at 11.5, if Tien actually wins the match, you automatically win, because he ends up getting 4 in 3 separate sets, so you win automatically. But I think it's going to be a competitive matchup. I've seen Mickelson have a couple of tie breaks already in the group stage, so it's not like he's guaranteed to win each set by blowout. Mickelson had 2 tie breaks in the last match against Van Asch. He had 2 tie breaks against Basaveretti, and against Chang. Chang once again was injured, but that first set ended up going to a pretty lopsided margin, but that was based on Chang being injured. The point is that 2 tie breaks in each of the first 2 matches in the group stage, but Mickelson, I thought, was fine. Ended up dropping a set in each of the first 2 matches, so he's not exactly been unbeatable by any means. I think Tien's a very solid player. I think both guys are going to be willing to rally. A lot of long overall points, but Tien, I think, is really good, and I feel like he's a bit underrated in the spot, but I think that Mickelson, who has been solid, has still been vulnerable, and Tien also did not win a single match in straight sets, but each of his 3 matches did go to 4 or 5. So I do see a competitive battle here between 2 guys. Tien, though, for 11.5 on a team total, I think it's a bit low. I'll go with the over on that one as my lock. You can get there if he wins automatically, or if he loses in a competitive 4 or 5 sets. Anyway, moving on to the next matchup for the actual dog play. I'm going to go with Fonseca money line with the over 23.5 games here at +175. Both these bets, by the way, were available on Bet365. Now, Fonseca went undefeated in the group stage, but each of those matches did not end in straight sets. So the point is, he's been winning, does have a bit of a mental lapse, or maybe he takes a set off or 2. So I think you might end up seeing a potential marathon, or at least 4 sets. I don't see Fonseca winning in 3. So I think that Van Asch will be able to make his presence known for at least, I'd say, 30 minutes. I think Fonseca will eventually just have too much firepower, but I think you're looking at a pretty good price here. Van Asch did win at least 1 set in all 3 group stage matches. He might not be the most talented player in the world, but he's definitely a fighter, and he gets by through grit and determination. I think Van Asch will not, I'd say, go down with a whimper. I think he's going to end up trying, and I think he'll be able to make his presence known once again by winning a set. I don't see him winning, though. I think he's less talented. But I do think that for Fonseca, who won every group stage match not in straight sets, to get Fonseca to win with the over 23.5, which is a pretty decent overall number when you're looking at the amount of tiebreaks Fonseca's actually had in the group stage, and even Van Asch, who had 2 tiebreaks against Basaveretti and 2 tiebreaks against Mickelson, and he had 2 tiebreaks against Chang. So he had 2+ tiebreaks in every single match in the group stage. And Fonseca had 5 tiebreaks against Mensik and he had a 1 against fees. Think that, once again, it's a spot where you could get there if it gets to 4 with a breaker, and I think that you're looking at what should be a pretty fun overall matchup, but it's a good way to get a -1, basically 190 favorite at around plus 175. Give me a competitive pair of matches here on Saturday, which should result in some fun tennis. So once again, for the actual lock and dog picks, the lock's going to be on TN. Team total over 11.5 games at -125. For the dog, I'm going to go with the Fonseca money line with the over 23.5 games at plus 175 as my dog. See some comments here by Cayetano. Mickelson's overrated due to his serve. I agree. I think it's a pretty weak serve, especially for a guy's height. Something you should work on moving forward. Point is, you're looking at, if you keep the ball in play, you can definitely beat him. Yeah, definitely true too. I think you're looking at, once again, a couple of fun matchups on Saturday. A lot of sports going on. You have the college football playoff. You have NBA, a lot of stuff. But tennis, it's been a pretty entertaining atmosphere. I still hate the no deuces. I think the format's still a joke. They still need to work on it. But it's been pretty fun, and hopefully the matches remain fun on Saturday. For the actual next episode, a reminder, I'll be back once again for the final in this event, so keep that in mind. A reminder, by the way, before you forget, please like and subscribe on YouTube. And a reminder, please leave a rating and a review on Spotify or Apple. And a reminder to check out the merch store as well on the SGPN website. Until next time, good luck on, once again, your plays. Find me on Twitter, Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the MLB show as well. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.